evening and welcome to Meticulous Moments. My name is Juanita Kapp. You can reach me at meticulousmacarons@gmail.com or find me on LinkedIn. Since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the globe, I've had the wonderful privilege to meet a wide array of fantastic individuals. These individuals have truly touched my life in so many positive ways. Amongst this group of people, there are authors, public speakers, life coaches, poets, leaders, and visionaries. They are the unsung heroes of our time. Therefore, I decided to start the Meticulous Moments movement out of a sense of my gratitude. It is my way of giving back to the community. Let us share and reshare their stories in an effort to build a better society. Good day and welcome to the Meticulous Moments podcast, where we facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. Today we have the wonderful privilege of spending time with the amazing Rich Grogan. A little bit more about Rich. Master Grogan is a bully-proof expert, master martial artist and inspirational leader. He gives bully-proof and inspirational speeches around the world. He empowers kids and adults with hope and the courage and confidence to believe in themselves, to stand up to bullying and stand out in the crowd to become bully-proof and live their best kicking life. To end the suffering of millions of people affected by bullying every day, we are empowering kids and adults with hope and the courage and confidence to believe in themselves, to overcome their fears, to stand up to bullying and to stand up in the crowd to become bully-proof. From Master Grogan. We had such a phenomenal session together. Master Grogan's heart for children and for people is just amazing. I can see that he's a heart-centered, focused servant leader, and I believe that society needs so many more of these leaders today. Network with him, reach out to him, follow him on social media, support his book, which is available, and we will make his social media handles available to you in order to do so. Enjoy the session with us, and with that we say welcome to our very special guest, Rich Grogan. Good evening, Meticulous Moments audience. Thank you for being with us this evening for yet another vibrant session here on Meticulous Moments, where we facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. And today we have the wonderful privilege of spending time with the amazing Rich Grogan. Good evening, Rich. How are you?
Hello, everybody. Greetings. Hope everybody's doing fantastic. Juanita, thank you so very much for having me on your show. I'm blessed, honored, and extremely grateful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are so happy to be here with you today. We know we're going to spend valuable time, quality time together. Now, you and I have been in the same breakout rooms. We belong to some of the same leadership groups, and we've had a lovely, enlivening virtual coffee. We speak on Messenger. So I feel like I've known you for much longer than I have. But would you just introduce yourself to the audience for those who are not acquainted with you yet?
Absolutely. And thank you again for the opportunity. And listeners, thank you so very much for your time. I know time is the most valuable commodity on the planet. So the fact that you're taking time out of your busy day to spend with us, we're truly grateful. And I promise I'm going to give everything I've got. And Juanita is going to give everything she's got to make sure that time is valuable. I'm Master Rich Grogan. I live in Southwest Florida, a little town called Palmetto. I just moved here last year. I lived 51 years in Southern Illinois, just outside of St. Louis, Missouri. I grew up on a farm. I've been in martial arts since 1979. I've been coaching, baseball, football, and hockey, and of course, instructing martial arts for roughly 35 years now. And we had a business we started up, Grogan's Academy of Martial Arts. We started that in 1997 when it officially became a business. We were, doing the stuff out of the garage and other places, and we figured, we got to get this business thing going. So we did that. In the midst of doing all that, I went back to school, got my degree in kinesiology education, which is the study of human movement, and which fit right in with my exercise physiology and personal training, and then of course martial arts and the sports. So it all kind of locked in together. And then I taught PE for 11 years. In the midst of all that, I recorded 4 exercise videos called Kick to Get Fit. That was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I know we talked about, we're going to talk a little bit about that in Tybo, which was, the Billy Blank sensation in the 90s and early 2000s. The business moved along. I've been through 2 bankruptcies, house foreclosure, cars repossessed, all the ups and downs. I've got 3 kids. Austin, Madeline, and Emmett. Austin's 22, Madeline's 19, Emmett's 13, and my beautiful, lovely wife who has put up with me through thick and thin. She's been my not only inspiration, but my pillar of support. And she's been with me. We've been married 26 years now. And recently, just in August of this year, we sold our martial arts academy to our head instructor. His name's Nathan Wilkening. He was my first official student, first black belt, first instructor, first studio manager, and now he owns the academy. And we sold that so we could focus full time on kind of the next development and mission in my world, my life, is empowering 10 million kids, parents, teens, and adults and coaches with hope, faith, and confidence to believe in themselves, to overcome their fears, battle through their challenges, to stand up to any bully they face, both real and in their mind, to become bully proof so they can live their best kick in life. My books, I've got 2 books that just launched this year. One in April called Becoming Bully Proof, and the other one just 2 weeks ago now on Tuesday called I Believe in Me. You can see those on the wall there, but I'll show you real quick. Here's the Becoming Bully Proof. It's available on Audible, or this version, paperback, Kindle, and Audible. We just finished the recording, and hopefully it'll be out in the next 2 or 3 weeks on Audible. And of course, you can find that on our website, grogansbullyproof.com. And the newest book is the I Believe in Me book. I know we're going to talk about this as well. It's all about, it's A through Z positive affirmations. I took the alphabet and gave a positive affirmation for each letter, once again, to empower kids. And my thought process there is empower the kids early and often, so it's not a matter of if, but when some kid comes along and tries to bully them, they have enough belief in themselves. Their bully-proof armor is empowered to stand up to any bully they face. So how's that for a quick 90-second rundown?
I love it. And there's one thing that shines through. You're a dedicated martial artist. You're a dedicated author. You're dedicated in everything that you do. But most of all, you're a dedicated family man. And I always commend people when I work with them if they are family orientated, because that's really our foundation. And that's really the reason we do what we do, to be a family and be happy and to make a positive impact. So thank you so much for that. We are going to dig a little bit deeper in some of those aspects a little bit later. We discussed the fact that you have been in the martial arts for many, many years. And I remember from our virtual coffee, you explaining that during the training you conducted at your martial arts school, you focused on leadership traits, you focused on character development, self-defense. Would you like to unpack these concepts for us? As I really feel, it's very important that we put focus on that, because that's really what martial arts is about. It's more than just knowing how to fight and being able to overcome your opponent. It's got so many valuable life lessons. So over to you, Rich.
Awesome. Well, thank you for wanting to talk about that. Martial arts is incredible, and there's my gosh, it's had a profound impact on my life and millions of others. And what I've tried to do is, I like Bruce Lee. I got into martial arts because of Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris back in the early 70s, and my first dream was to be a pro hockey player. So I was doing that. And then I took martial arts to help build my confidence, because, it was cool watching Bruce Lee as a small person do what he did. And then Chuck Norris, even though he's not the biggest person in the world at the time, as a kid, I could see that he was much bigger than I was. But it was all about, what that guy could do, kind of his attitude and confidence and his ability to, the flexibility and to throw the kicks and the punches and the defenses. So started in martial arts in 1979 as a way to empower me, mostly to believe in myself, and to, I had kids bullying me and I didn't have a lot of confidence to stand up for myself. So that was a big part of it. It was mostly for self-defense, self-protection, and learning how to fight, right? Yeah. And as I evolved in martial arts, my goal was, I had to actually back up a step. I had to stop taking martial arts. Oh gosh darn. how old was I? After several years after I started, because it was a lot for my parents, my mom mostly to run me to hockey and martial arts at the same time. And I started fighting a little more than I should have. I didn't have the understanding of what martial arts was all about. And a lot of that it was due to being bullied and packing all that stuff in. And so when it came out, man, it came out. And I even talk about today, I've never had an explosion happen. Well, any explosion's bad, but it never happens on the person that it's intended to, right? Or the person that gets it gets the blunt of all the stuff that they didn't deserve. And no one deserves to be hurt or beat up or anything else, even if they bullied you for years. You got to learn to control yourself. Well, as a kid, I didn't know that. That's something that as an adult, it's taken me years to try and figure out. But so what we've tried to do with our martial arts, and it was with an organization called the United States Tung Sudo Mudakwon Organization, which is what Chuck Norris started off in. So kind of brothers with Carlos Norris, which is fantastic. Master Carlos. And he's a wonderful human being in every respect. Well, I was with that organization until 2014, and things, I could see the cracks. They started many years before that as far as our core values and the alignment of what was there. And our core values and what we stand by at the Martial Arts Academy and what I try and base every decision I make on is honor, integrity, discipline, and respect. And I tell you those core values because for years upon years, I didn't have any core values. I didn't even, I guess I should have known, but they just were, what use? I'm a martial artist. I'm a karate guy. Well, that's good. But if a ship without a rudder, you're just spinning in circles, kind of aimlessly going in circles, and maybe you land in a good spot and maybe you don't. So I mentioned that to our entrepreneur friends because you've got to have core values. You've got to have pillars that you are not willing to sacrifice regardless. And when the business was first going, I didn't have those in place. People took advantage of me. Now, and we could say bullying, but I say that because I allowed it to happen because I didn't have my principles in line. So you've got to have those. And when I gave you an example the other day when we spoke, I kind of ran the academy like Average Joe's Gymnasium in the movie Dodgeball, pretty much saying, hey, just throw some money at me when you can. Oh, no big deal. Well, you've run a business that way, you're going to be out of business. You got to treat the business like a business or you're going to be out of business. If it's just a hobby, that's fine. But don't expect to make a career out of it. And then there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's a business, you got to make sure you run it like a business, or like I mentioned, I had 2 bankruptcies. So we, 2014, we left the organization and it was very difficult. I'd been with them almost 26 years. So it was like a divorce. I cried, I prayed, am I doing the right thing here? And it was tough. People I'd known for, like I mentioned, almost 26 years turned their back on me, all kinds of, I thought it was unwarranted hate and tell me that I sold out. All I was caring about was money instead of principles. And I tried to explain, look, no, the reason I'm going is the organization, unfortunately, started giving away belt ranks, started giving away advancement, they had like a 2-year black belt program, which I totally disagree with. Some folks do that and that's fine. But I'm a big believer in making the kids earn it, because if you don't teach them to overcome adversity, challenges, and battle through at a young age, you don't teach them how to solve problems as small problems when they're young, they're never going to learn how to solve bigger problems when they get bigger. So it was something I brought up many, many times. Part of the organization, I was on the board of directors. I was a regional examiner over 5 different states. And I thought I was put in that position to uphold the standards of Chuck Norris back in the day. And the first testing process that came along, unfortunately, every single one of the students failed. Now, it broke my heart to fail the students because it wasn't really their fault that they were coming to this black belt test unprepared, but they truly weren't. I mean, in my mind, they weren't even worthy of being a green belt. And I spoke that very verbally. And but unfortunately, the head of the organization, his father, Kwanjadam Wongki, who started the Mudakwon, which was Chuck Norris's original instructor, he passed away and the son took over. And I have the utmost respect for the son. He's the one that asked me to become the regional examiner and to, in his words, clean up the region. I need quality black belts, quality students. I need quality. I need what the Mudakwon stood for. So I did that. And after the first run through, a lot of these instructors who sent the students up were by rank my senior, but by leadership and Kwanjanim, promoted me to regional examiner, I don't say ahead of them. I'm trying to be humble here, but he asked me to do a job. And when he asked me to do a job honorably, with integrity, discipline, respect, I'm going to do it. It's the right thing to do. And it's not to give these kids false hope by saying they're a black belt when, in my humble opinion, they wouldn't qualify as a green belt. After the testing, the seniors of these students, which were my seniors by rank, the instructors, pretty much said, look, you're on probation in this position. We're your seniors. You're disrespecting us by not passing our students. And pretty much they tried to blackball me, if you will. They said, I said, well, I'm upholding the integrity of the art. This is what Kwanjanim told me to do. They call Juanita Kwanjanim, and then he calls me and says, oh, we got to make sure we uphold humility, and they're your seniors. You cannot fail the students of your seniors. That's breaching protocol. And I said, well, sir, with all due respect, I'm doing exactly what you asked me to do. And so anyway, long story short, I tried to stand my ground on this thing, and I did not go back on what was done, but he actually entrusted the students' instructors to do the retest on them to pass them through. So the next testing process comes along. Honor, integrity, discipline, respect. Students weren't any better. I failed them again. Now, I don't want people to think it sounds like I'm a hard butt here or mean or heartless, but in my heart and in my mind, I'm not going to give a child something they have not earned. And I get it. Some kids are multi-talented. Some kids are extremely gifted athletes and gifted martial artists, and others aren't. I never evaluate on that, nor have I ever. I evaluate on your attitude and your effort. Do you have the right attitude? Are you clearly putting forth your very, very best with your attitude? Is your eyes up, or your defeated posture? Are you throwing your best, crisp, clean techniques? And could you practically or physically defend yourself in a practical situation of self-defense? And if the answer is yes, man, you got it. If the answer is no, and it's not anything on athletic ability, I didn't ever care if a person kicked the ceiling or not. All I cared about is they can throw a side kick and that sucker snaps out and that could do some damage. Yeah. If they throw a punch, man, that thing's going to snap out there. They can defend themselves. They're doing a joint lock, a wrist lock, a takedown, a neck and choke, whatever. Is it effective? And if the answer is yes, by all means, man. Could it always use work? Yeah, I could still use work after 40 something years. But that's all I evaluated on. So anyway, I kind of dove a little deeper than you wanted there. Well, same thing happened the next test. And after that, I decided it was time to part ways. It was hard. It was difficult, but we formulated our own kind of curriculum. And that was in 2014. And the focus was on, first and foremost, attitude and effort. You know, your attitude to put forth your best. And then the curriculum was focused around what I call bully proof. Bully proof is self-protection in any situation, both mentally, spiritually, and physically. And then off of that became our leadership and life skills and character development virtues. So my goal with our academy and what we do is empowering kids to believe in themselves, as I mentioned before, with that hope, faith, and confidence to become bully proof. So I'm not a big advocate of tournaments. People go, and that's fine to test your competitive level. But anytime I go and I see 8-year-old black belts throwing temper tantrums and throwing their belt on the floor, I've got huge problems with that. So I don't want to be around that kind of stuff simply because I think it sends the wrong message to my students. So there's where we're at, and that's what we focus on, because I believe that in my heart, and others are different, but I believe in my heart that's what's going to help make society, kind of my ultimate mission, a happier, healthier, and safer place to live, by empowering these kids to know how to overcome adversity and challenges, know how to challenge themselves to be their very, very best, and condition themselves to do their very best at absolutely everything they do. And that's what's going to establish future leaders that are going to run our world, not just our countries, but our world, and in a way that it's supposed to be ran.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I know some of these places that just hand out the belts. I mean, I cannot imagine that someone can ever get to a level of a black belt in only 2 years. I mean, maybe there are people like Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris, and they have that level of skill, but it's 1 in a million. Well, and I know they call these places belt factories. Yeah,
belt factories, you're right. And we can touch on that extended period of time. But Chuck Norris, people don't realize, he trained 6 days a week. And then on his seventh day, he didn't go in the academy and train. He trained at home, but anywhere from three to 4 hours a day, 6 days a week. And other days, I mean, it would be, he would have the studio all the time. It worked. I mean, it was in the morning job and back in the evenings.
Yeah.
That's what he did. And he got the reps in that you need in order to do that. So, because somebody was, well, Chuck Norris got his in like, well, many people don't know this, but Chuck Norris actually failed his first Dan test, his first degree black belt test. In the middle of his testing, he was doing a form called Basai, same form we still do today. And it was the form of the Cobra. And in the midst of that, he had a brain freeze and forgot it. And he had to sit down at the end of the test. It rumored to have happened that Quan Dim called him up and said, "You're not prepared. Come back when you're better prepared. See you later." And Chuck Norris said that actually prepared him for the rest of his life, never to go into anything ill prepared. So it was a good learning lesson for him. And of course, Chuck Norris could have been like kids today who don't get their belt and have a temper tantrum on the floor and spit and scream and cry and holler, and mommy and daddy will buy it for him, which I'm not. But what Chuck Norris do, he found it in himself to say, you know what, you're right.
Yeah, I love that. There's a life lesson in that. And I agree with you. Being on that level takes extremely long hours. It takes hard work, dedication. And not everybody at the end of the day does that. So they shouldn't go and say, if they know a certain kata, that they have to go to the next belt. It's not just about knowing the kata. It's about understanding the bunkai as well and, performing it correctly. So thank you so much for that breakdown. I love that. I love that. Absolutely phenomenal answer to that question. And I know you've shared with me that you've trained with the best martial artists in the world. And if you look back now, I wanted to ask you, what similarity can you see between all of them? What runs through? Is there something that's similar that stands out in all of them that we can learn from?
It's what has the greatest impact in my heart, and it's what I talk about probably more than absolutely anything else, and that's those two words: attitude and effort. They all had the attitude regardless. Some were extremely flexible. I've been over to Korea 4 times. So I got to train with just really some of the best in the absolute world over there. But we're all unique in our own God-given way. I'm not a very tall person, kind of short, and I'm blessed. We're growing up on a farm, having all the chores of baling hay and shoveling poo and this and that. Fairly stocky, and I'm happy about that. And it was always fast. Matter of fact, when I trained a lot, it was always my two things that I had was I was strong inside and extremely quick. So I was going to utilize my abilities to do that. Now, as I've evolved, I tried to involve in every way to improve the strengths as well as improve the weaknesses as well as the strengths. But what I found was the attitude to commit to being your very, very best. Your attitude to saying, I'm going to give it all I've got, regardless if I'm tired, regardless if I don't feel well, regardless if, I'm aching or pain. I can either make excuses or I can find solutions. Period. That's the attitude. And then the effort is actually applying yourself and doing it. And once again, that's how I've evaluated students as long as I can remember in any regard is the attitude and effort. Because sometimes you have the most talented kids, most talented players or students in martial arts, and they don't have the right attitude and effort. And they're never going to, they may get by on skill and more talent, but in my heart, I'm going to push them even further because they've got a better start than some of these other kids that don't have the natural ability. So attitude and effort above all else in everything you do. That's the number one thing that I saw. You had some people who are extremely flexible, and you had other people that were maybe a little heavier in stature, but their self-defense was just lights out. And then you had others that maybe didn't have the self-defense, they didn't have the flexibility, but gosh darn, they could fight. So what I tried to do, I know we talked about this when I created our curriculum, is the Bruce Lee philosophy. And the Bruce Lee philosophy is you take it all in, absolutely everything. And I encourage friends out there, entrepreneurs, that you do the same. But I'm going to save you a lot of time and years. After I finish this, I'll tell you how to save you time and years, and of course money as well. You take it all in. You dissect and get rid of what's not you. Now, this doesn't align with my core values. No, I don't know about this one. This one's not really what I want to mold my curriculum after. So you just get rid of all that doesn't align with your core values. Mine, once again, honor, integrity, discipline, and respect. You get rid of all that. Then most important, You've got to add your unique flavor, your God-given talent, what you bring to the table. Now, what I bring is smaller guy, was pretty fast. I'm 52 now, so I've learned to adapt and use a little bit of wisdom. But but what I've got is my self-defense that's what I focused on the most. And so that's what I bring. Practical self-defense in any situation, regardless of what that is. If it's against a punch, if it's a tackle, if it's against a grab, if it's against a kick, whatever. If it's a knife or a gun or a stick or a club, whatever. Self-defense, self-protection. Koreans have a term for it. It's called hul sensul, is a Korean term, and that means protect one's body technique. So you protect one's body, your body, with whatever technique is necessary to effectively defend yourself, is essentially what that breaks down to. But anyway, you take it all in, dissect what's not, or you'll get rid of what's not yours and what doesn't fit your core values, add your unique flavor. Now, this is the most important thing. You make it uniquely your own. That's yours. I always like to think of, remember the movie Kung Fu Panda, when the secret sauce, no one knew what the secret sauce was. Well, the secret sauce was his love, right? His love and his heart for doing what he did. That's your secret sauce, listeners. You add your flavor, your love, your passion for what you do, and no one can take that away. Why? Because no one's you. There's one. There's like 7.7 billion people in the world today, and I promise you, you're the only one. The mold was broken when you were made, and that's good because you're a unique original.
I love that. Absolutely true. It becomes a part of you, martial arts, and it is uniquely structured and tailored to us. So we do the same styles, but it's unique to our way, our flavor, like you've said. And that's what I love about martial arts. It's for everyone.
Yep.
Anyone can do martial arts.
You and I can do the exact same technique. And you may be able to mirror me and I can mirror you, but it's never going to be exactly the same because martial arts molds to who you are and you become the best you can be. I become the best me I can be. Our listeners become the best they can be. And that's the beautiful thing about martial arts. That and here's the thing, being an athlete, like I mentioned, my first goal was to play pro hockey. Never happened, but I'm actually coaching my son now and actually working with a couple professional hockey players. So that's kind of cool. But everybody's got their unique talent. Some hockey players are extremely fast. Others are tough and rugged. Others can pass the puck really well. Others can shoot really, really well. Well, almost all professional athletes nowadays have taken or are taking some form of martial arts just to learn how to utilize their body and their, when I say their body, whatever height, weight, shape they are, because it helps utilize who you are and get the most out of that body. But, I can't, I can say, well, Anita's so cool. I want to be like her so badly. Well, I can do that as far as a benchmark or a guide because maybe she's a higher rank or has a better front kick than I do, but I'll never be able to replicate you or her or whoever I put on a pedestal there because I'm not you. I've got to be me. So that's the comparison. Oftentimes, comparison is the thief of joy. We get into this comparison world is, man, I'm never as good as she is. Well, at least I'm not as bad as him. Oh my gosh. Well, what does that do? I'm bullying myself by saying I'm never as good as someone else. Now I'm bullying somebody else by putting them down. It's a no-win situation. So anyway, we could talk at length about that too, but I know we got several other things we want to touch on.
My goodness, I never thought about it that way, but what you are saying is so true. I love that. I always tell people when you compare, you compete. And you shouldn't compare yourself, your martial arts, to that of someone else because you're not competing with them, except if you go to nationals or a competition. But your martial arts journey is your martial arts journey. It's about you and about how you develop yourself and for the future. And I just love martial arts. I have to tell you, Rich, when I started 6 years ago, I was a much different person. And the dojo is my home now. It's my second home. It's my most favorite place to be. And I just love the family that I made, the family that bond and the learning process. We have so many things going on there, and it's really just changed my life for the better. It has developed me, and I'm sure that's the overall experience for everyone. So I'm so truly thankful. And I wanted to ask you, you were a teacher, you were a hockey coach, you touched a little bit on the hockey. Tell us more about your time as a teacher and a hockey coach. That's so awesome.
Well, and I want to compliment you and commend you for staying with it. You've set a goal and now it's changed your life. Oftentimes, folks, and you know, you've been here 6 years now, you've seen literally hundreds come and go. And but you stayed with the path. And I'm sure you had several friends that started and are no longer there. But I mentioned this because folks, when you're out there and you have a goal, you have a mission, you have a purpose, you have something you want to do, oftentimes the people you started with aren't going to be with you at the end. But what you are going to find is people on the same mission, on the same path, are going to be, and you're going to learn a heck of a lot more from them. So continue on that path, be willing and comfortable about, well, it's uncomfortable, but it's more comfortable at the end by stepping out from the crowd. So, I mean, sincere praise and compliments for you for continuing to move along there, because literally I've seen, unfortunately, I've trained maybe I don't know if it's 10,000 yet, but it's getting close with speeches and presentations and coaching and everything else. Yeah, we're probably closing in on close to 100,000 people I've tried to empower and impact with everything we're doing. And that's a small drop in the bucket to the 10 million that I plan to do so and obviously being on this show, and hopefully it'll be shared many, many times to impact others along the way there with that hope, faith, and confidence to believe in themselves.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much. Yes, you are going to reach that mark. Absolutely. I know when you are so dedicated, when you set out that goal, you are definitely going to reach it. I mean, I see you, loving hockey when you were in school, and here you have your beautiful son and you are involved there. And that's all the integrity and all the morals and values that you learned over the years in martial arts. And I have to tell you, Rich, you started in 1979. So you have been doing martial arts longer than I've been alive.
Thank you, I guess.
It's a compliment.
I earned these gray hairs. I think my kids gave me those. Anyway, no, I've had an opportunity coaching. Actually, I can't remember. It was either I was 14 or 15. First hockey team I ever coached, and I'd been helped out prior to that, just on the bench and doing some different stuff. But that year, I was an assistant coach with a guy. He was 19 or 20, and halfway through the year, he up and quit. He had it, and this was back in the early 80s with parents. And parents don't be a problem parent. What I mean by that, care about your kids and get involved in your kids and help out with your kids. But listen, if your kids need discipline, they need redirection, or they don't get a belt, be on board with the instructor and help them become their very best. Help the coaches become their very best. And by all means, there's always a need for extra coaches and extra helpers. So jump on board there. Don't just moan and complain from the sideline. Get involved. And being a coach for 35 years, I'm telling you, come on, take the test. I'll be more than happy to work with you. But anyway, halfway through the season, he quit because he couldn't deal with the parents. So here I am, a young kid, and it was a like 9 or 10 and under hockey team. And so I'm only basically 4 or 5 years older than these kids I'm coaching. And obviously the parents are old enough to be my parent. And it was very, very rough. Quick example, like one of the first games, we lost 6-0. And so I had the next practice, what I grew up doing was a no puck practice. No pucks means we ain't shooting the pucks. We're skating our butts off to kind of learn, develop skating, because you got to be able to skate to get to the puck. So the parents come to me and they say, how do you expect them to score if they don't? It was like a coup d'etat. They all came, against me. It was a rebellion, I guess. And one of the dads brought up, how the heck you expect them to score if they never touch the puck? And I said, when I was brought up, that's how we did practice. And I said, the reason is if they're not fast enough to ever skate to get to the puck, they ain't got to worry about shooting because they're not going to touch the puck to begin with. So we're going to work on the fundamentals of skating hard. And it was a rough season. And I could not believe the parents, the way they were talking to me. I was just a kid at the time, and I was doing the best I could. And one of the dads stood up for me a little bit and said, hey, he's out here doing this. He's not getting paid for this. Why don't one of you dads step up and help out? Well, that shut them down a little bit, but they still, it was a rough season. Matter of fact, I didn't coach for a number of years after that because it was devastating. But anyway, I got back at it, and I coached my son's baseball, football teams when he was younger, Austin, and then helped out my daughter's softball team, Madeline, and then my son Emmett now with hockey. And I'm in Florida, which I never thought hockey will be as big as it is, and I'm just blessed to do that. And then you'd mentioned I was PE teacher for 11 years, and I absolutely loved that. That was so much fun, and I was the PE teacher that would get out there and play with the kids. I wouldn't just roll the ball out and say, hey, do whatever you want to do. That rips my heart out, because I hear about PE teachers that do that. And I doubt that any of those PE teachers are listening to your show. They need to, because they need to learn. You need to have some humility and actually know your place in life. And that is to empower these kids, not just to blow them off because you're just doing a job. That drives me nuts. Don't just do a job. You're not doing anybody any good, especially yourself and the kids you're supposed to empower. But I did that for 11 years, and it got to the point I had to, it became too much, because I was a PE teacher during the day, trying to run the business at night, help coach my kids' teams, and try and run the martial arts academy. I never saw my family, and it was burnout was happening at a very, very quick rate. A normal day would be I'd get up at 6. If I had a chance, work out a little bit, get to the school, teach 8 or 9 PE classes. I was elementary mostly. I was K through 12, kindergarten through 12th grade, but since I was a male, and a lot of the buildings, I was the only male in the whole entire building. So they kept me a lot at the elementary buildings, which was fine. I loved it, playing with younger kids and teaching them skills, and they didn't have attitudes. They loved Mr. Grogan. So that made me feel good. But anyway, so I'd do that. I'd 8 or 9 PE classes, go to the academy, teach another 4 or 5 classes, and then sit in the academy. I remember sometimes it'd be 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and just try and decompress and maybe eat something that I didn't eat for lunch at 11 o'clock at night while I finished paperwork. Then get home, and my wife would have dinner, which was in the microwave. I'd heat it up, work on paperwork as I'd eat, and then fall asleep on the couch because I needed some just complete away from everything time. 1 or 2 in the morning, I would get up, finally go to bed, get back up at 6 and do it again. And this became an endless cycle of my life for a number of years. And I was not being the father I wanted to be or should have been, not being the husband I should have been. And then before you know it, you can't give what you don't have. And when you're running on empty, you're pretty much given empty. And when you're digging into those reserves, it eventually catches up to you. So that was a hard lesson, and I learned a lot from that. But it was time to move on. I stopped teaching in 2012 and focused on the business full time. And I'd love to tell you it was all sunshine and rainbows, but we still had our hiccups because that's when I really started running the business like Average Joe's Gym, because I needed students, and oftentimes I was sacrificing my core values for students that I probably shouldn't have taken on in the first place, because not everybody is going to be right for you. And that's a big message for entrepreneurs, and especially coaches. You want to help everybody, but if you spend all your time trying to help people that truly don't want help, they just want to suck the life out of you, you're turning your back on everybody else, and you're burning yourself out before you have anything left in you to give to those that really need it. I know that's a lot to unpack there, but
absolutely. No, I agree with you. You said some very, very valuable things there. And I was thinking now, it's so tiring to be, because I'm a pastor and I work with people. So I teach, groups, young adults group and younger youth groups. And so I'm thinking how the way I feel after I've done, for instance, 2 youth groups on a Friday. So I'm thinking, how you must have, your energy levels must have been after teaching in school. Then you went over to the dojo and you worked until so late. And I taught 3 grappling classes this week, last week, Tuesday. And I'll have to tell you that I was tired after 3 classes I was teaching. I wasn't in participating, but I felt tired. I felt even more tired than I would have been if I'd just been the student in that class. And I'm thinking, how tired must you have been? So, the burnout, absolutely, that is just, that was at the order of the day if your routine is so full. How did you keep that up? How long did you keep that up, did you say?
Well, I was PE teacher for 11 years, so I kept that up.
My goodness.
So I what was I going to say? I was never diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, but I'm quite sure I had it, which I used to think was a curse. But then I started saying, hey, this is my gift that I have. I can outwork everybody. So I always thought I could outwork my problems, which I could, just work a little harder, just work a little harder, just work a little harder. And that's good when you're young enough to do it. But it gets to the point where you keep working hard, but you got to add an element to it that I never had before. And that is working smarter and figuring out ways that work, as opposed to, well, I tried this. And when I mentioned earlier to your listeners that I was going to save you a ton of time, money, and energy, surround yourself with people that align with your core values, that believe in the same path that you're on, and then start picking their brain. Why? Because now, after being in business and being bankrupt twice, my house foreclosed on, cars repossessed, and then all the burnout and then neglecting my family, I've learned a better way. And the better way is you surround yourself with people that have done it before. You read books, you go to conferences, you attend seminars, you listen to podcasts like this, you attend webinars where people are sharing their life experience on all the mistakes they've made to keep you from making it. And something I tell my kids and other teenagers I talk to, listen, I want to help you avoid the same pitfalls that I had. You're going to mess up enough on your own. Don't mess up in a way that I can help save you.
I was thinking something, and this is a little bit off topic, but it's also related to, I want the audience to hear the following. It's good to be I like to overachieve, and sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's not good for my health, and I'm busy, and I always make sure there's a lot going on like you. And I have this hashtag slogan that's my life motto. It says, never give up. I love it. Babe Ruth said it. There's so many people that live according to that. But that's not always a positive thing. And I'll tell you why. I was working for an international company, and I was on call 24/7. I worked too many hours. I never had leave. Even when I was sick, I wasn't granted leave. But I decided when I started with them, I won't give up. And, I would tell myself everything would get better and everything would get better, until I burned out so badly that I realized my thought process of never give up was actually being something negative in my life. So I prayed and I said, God, you need to show me the way, because I recognize this weakness within myself. I will run myself to the ground just to achieve my goal and to make sure I'm there for others, but to my own detriment and to the negativity of my own health. And then you know what? God answered my prayer, and we came to an agreement that, they expected things, and it was not, it didn't fit in with my framework, and we kind of separated ways. But had I not prayed and given it to God, I probably still would have been doing that to myself. So sometimes, and you made some major points here that I just love, and I agree. Sometimes we just have to balance things out a bit and take stock of what's really important. And our health is one of those things, and our family as well.
Well, a little quote, and folks, write this one down, is when you're healthy, you have thousands of goals. When you're unhealthy, you have one. And that one is getting healthy again, so you can achieve and attack those thousands of goals. My little cup here, it's, I don't drink coffee because Lord knows I don't need it. But I love my hot tea.
I love that.
When my cup is empty, I can no longer give. I can no longer receive nourishment from that. So, and here's in martial arts. And one of the first things you do, what we would do, is you just walk in the door and you come to attention, you bow and you salute the flag. You salute the flag to give thanks for the freedom of the country you live in, and you bow to show thanks that you have a place to come and train. But at the same time, what you're doing is you're emptying your cup. Now, what I would tell kids and parents as well, before the hand hits the door, you're going to hang all your baggage, all your stress, all your worries, all your concerns on the stress tree. It's an imaginary tree, but it was outside. And then come in, empty your cup. All the thoughts of the day are gone. Your cup is empty, because now you're going to be filled up with knowledge, and you can take that knowledge and then share that with someone else. And then when you leave, go ahead and grab that stress, that baggage, those worries, those concerns off that stress tree. But I promise you, they're not going to be there. One, the tree's not even there, but two, they're all going to be gone. You're no longer going to be focused on those. You're going to be focused on what you can do to help out others. So that's in the learning phase. Empty cup in order to fill it with knowledge. Now, from a giving point of view, you've got to make sure that you are full of energy, full of life, full of knowledge, full of wisdom in order to share that with someone else, because now your cup needs to be full in order to pour to give to someone else. But if your cup is not, I mean, if you have, I don't have anything in here, Juanita, I don't care how thirsty you are, I can't give you what I don't have. So I've got to make sure I'm taking care of me first and foremost. And oftentimes when I say that, people, well, that sounds awfully selfish. I said, so one of my mentors, and this is another good one, this is a wham, a right hook of reality. He hit me with it. He said, hey, Rich, do you enjoy disrespecting everybody that you're meant to serve? And I'm like, what? What are you talking about, man? I work 100, 110 hours a week. I never see my kids, my family. I don't sleep. I'm not eating properly. Who knows when the last time I got on a steady workout program? And he let me ramble and he goes, well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, disrespect those. I'm giving I'm giving every bit of me to them. He goes, oh, I know that. Your attitude's always there. Your effort's always there. And you're willing to give everything you got. But think about this. If you've only got 50% to give, even though you're giving 100% of that, because I said at the end of the day, you're only giving them 50%. So you're cheating them. You're disrespecting them because you're not 100% yourself.
That's a phenomenal way to put it. I love it. And you were talking, you were talking about leaving your mind outside. We've got a rule at the dojo. You leave everything that happened this week or today outside. You come inside with an empty mind, because your body is going to be trained now. And I'll tell you, I've gone to class and maybe I go on a little bit of sleep and I'm so tired. When I step in the dojo, I forget that I'm tired. I go and I do my classes. And when I come out, I feel like a new person. It works. It really works.
Well, Juanita, you've obviously got a great staff, a great team, great instructors and mentors at your academy. So listeners, if you're not in martial arts or wherever, you're not experiencing what Juanita's experiencing, I encourage you to find somewhere else, because they're as great as martial arts should be, or any kind of mentorship. There's also the other side of the coin. And there's some that are just not, I don't want to put anybody down, but they're not for you if you're not getting out of it what you're getting out of it. So I'll say that with the utmost humility. I don't want to say anybody's bad and good and this and that. I'm just saying if you're not getting what you're getting, then you need to find a different place and make sure they align with your core values. And if you don't have core values, sit down and write them out. What are you unwilling to breach? What are you unwilling to break? And then those are your core values. And once again, ours are honor, integrity, discipline, and respect. And as we'd say at the studio, at the academy, I'll do everything I can to make it right for the parent and the family. And if we screwed up, we'll take responsibility. Hey, we're not perfect. Gosh darn it. What can we do to make it right? However, I will never breach honor, integrity, discipline, respect. I mean, I will never give a child a belt they did not earn. I will not promote somebody because parents say, well, they had a bad day today. They're not feeling well today. And I said, well, that's okay. Well, they'll come back tomorrow. They'll test again when they're feeling better. Well, they got a busy week. I said, no, now we're making excuses. And then maybe we're not the right place for you. That's something I wouldn't have said 10, 15 years ago. Now I just flat out say, well, maybe we're not the right place for you. Let's see if we can find you a place that's more aligned with your core values, because we're not giving it away. And we had a place in town that had a guaranteed, I didn't guarantee anything, a guaranteed 2-year black belt program. So to each their own. That's absolutely not in line with our core values. We're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's when the student is ready to test for that rank, because I don't want to set anybody up for failure. Say, hey, you're ready to test when, man, this isn't right, because now it's far worse. So anyway, I wanted to share that.
Really?
A little bit.
No, that's I was in the dojo one day, Rich, and my instructor is also, he's a teacher, and a day and an afternoon and nights he does karate, and he's at the dojo. And there was a little boy. I was waiting for our class to start, and there was a little boy coming up to him after the class, and he was tucking on his ski. And the sensei turned around and he acknowledged him and said, yes, you had a good class. I'll see you tomorrow. And then the little boy asked, Sensei, who is the best coach? And they were talking about the coaches at school. There's a rugby coach and a cricket coach. And the sensei didn't answer. And the little boy was thinking, and the little boy tucked on his gear again, and he asked the same question. And then the sensei looked over his shoulder and he said, the best coach is the honest coach. And that stayed with me. You have to be honest with people about what level they are on with their martial arts. You have to.
That is really, really good. The best coach is the honest coach. I like that. And I like to say the best communicators or coaches or leaders are the ones that connect with their intended audience on a level they understand. Oftentimes we have leaders try and talk down to us because they're superior and we're just nothing but peons, or they try and what is it? Codify us, they try and, too much sympathy. No, you talk to them on a level that they understand in order to connect within the best, because a true leader, a true coach, to inspire or to empower is doing everything they can to transfer energy to that person to empower them to be their very, very best. And it's what you say, how you say it, and how you connect with them. But you got to be honest, right? You got to be honest. And, I got to be brutal honest. You don't need to be brutal. You don't need to say, man, you suck. That's why no, come on. Say, hey, right now, maybe today wasn't your day. We're going to come back and try it again here, but I need you to put forth your very, very best. Why don't we work on these things? I'm proud of your attitude. I'm proud of your effort, but let's work on this so we can get to that level. Now, you can say, well, it's the same thing. You told them they suck. No, I did not. That's brutal. What I did was transfer energy to them to empower them to work a little bit harder, because we all have our good days and our bad days. There are days that we all suck, if you want to go down that road, right? But it's what we do with that. And if we're at a down stage, we know nobody, let's see, the person that screws up, especially talk about hockey. Well, Emmett, my youngest son, is a goalie. Now, you talk about pressure. The goalies beat themselves up the most because they're the last line of defense. So if the goalie has a bad day, they don't need anybody telling them how bad their day was. They already know. It's what can you do to help them get better at that. You don't lie to them, say, man, you gave up 8 goals. You were freaking awesome. No, that's lying. That is the worst thing you do. Now you're patronizing them, right? And they know it's a lie. You can say, hey, had a little rough outing there. Let's see what we can do at practice to make sure that doesn't happen again, and go from there. Because they don't need beat down anymore, because they already feel bad about themselves. And now you're just piling it on top of them.
I agree that honesty always was obviously your approach I love, because you're honest to them and you treat them with dignity, and you don't compliment them if it was a bad game, but you tell them how it was, and you instill that hope in them that it can go better and that next time they have another chance. And I love the things that you've been busy with. You're such a colorful person. I absolutely love the things that you were busy with. You even did kickboxing aerobics, and I believe the name was Kick to Get Fit. Tell us more about that, please.
Yeah, and if you can see them on the wall over there, are you able to see? I don't know if they have it. The kids ones are over here. It's Kids Kick to Get Fit Junior for kids, and then Kick to Get Fit Safety and Self-Defense. And then over here were the first two, Kick to Get Fit, the original, and then Kick to Get Fit 2, Still Kicking. And essentially what I did was, are you able to see them all?
Yes, I can see. Beautiful.
Okay, well, tilt the camera that way. So anyway, how that came about was when the business started, I didn't have a place for a martial arts academy. So I was just going around to different gyms and different health clubs and different colleges and junior colleges. Now I had my personal fitness trainer certification. So I was a licensed personal fitness trainer, and I taught a few aerobic classes. Well, I got asked if I wanted to teach aerobics, and I'm like, yeah. All right, we'll give it a shot. Well, I had to teach masculine aerobics, so it was kickboxing aerobics. And I actually had a word, this was back in, maybe 94, 95. Anyway, the word was aerobics, karate aerobics. And so I wanted to trademark that word, and I found out somebody already had it. So I trademarked Kick to Get Fit, and that's my trademark now. I got 2 trademarks, actually, Kick to Get Fit and Kicking Life. And Kicking Life is all about, instead of life kicking your butt, you're kicking life's butt, and you're living the life that you were intended to live. Instead of getting down, beating down, life's kicking my butt, no, you're kicking freaking life's butt, and you're living who you're born to live. Well, that came off of the Kick to Get Fit. And the Kick to Get Fit is like a kick to quit smoking, a kick to quit drinking, a kick to get yourself in better shape. Well, it's a kick to get fit, baby. So anyway, that was something I did for I don't know how many years, and we decided we're going to film our first video. So I scripted, saved everything I had from teaching. My gosh, I was probably teaching I don't even know. It was like 5 or 6 different health clubs teaching 4 or 5 nights a week, 2 or 3 aerobic classes. I also taught water aerobics, by the way. So that was kind of fun. Senior citizens. But doing that, anyway, scripted, saved, and I had enough money to hire this local film company to film the first Kick to Get Fit. And so we got that, and we toured all over the United States. Well, it was the same year that Billy Blanks came out with Tybo, because it was September of 98 is when I first heard of Tybo, and it was all over the TV, all over everything. And we had already set the date to film this. I'm kind of a numbers guy, so it was 1/9/99. The year, it was 1999, but it was January 9th, 1999. So it was 1/9/99. Oh, it's going to be a historic day. This day we're going to film it. I'll forget this. La, da, da, da. And so we film it and get it out, and I don't know. I did everything I could to get it out there, and unfortunately, no one knew who Rich Grogan from the Midwest was. Billy Blanks in Hollywood, who had already done countless movies and had a really, really good following. But I mean, he had the angle on it. But I thought, you know what? I'll just ride this wave in and see what happens. So I toured all over, and actually we went bankrupt on Kick to Get Fit. 2 years later, I filmed 3 more videos, part 2 and the kids' videos. And then I start touring, but I started going to PE conferences, and PE teachers absolutely loved it. And so I started getting it into school systems, and that's what really helped. But Kick to Get Fit Junior for kids is still available on DVD on Amazon. I haven't. We were selling quite a few years ago, but nobody buys DVDs anymore. And I heard I need to put that on a live stream. I'll have to try and figure that out and maybe get that out there for folks. But I have had a chance to meet Billy Blanks. Gosh, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago now. And we really connected because I was wearing my uniform, and I did not know this, but he was part of Tung Sudo as well. And his senior instructor was also my senior instructor. So he saw my belt and saw my uniform, was like, Tung Sudo, Muda Kwan? I'm like, yeah. And oh my gosh, a great connection. Then I saw him a couple years later, and we picked right up where we left off. And it was kind of cool because I tend to talk a lot, but we had the conversation kind of like you and I, just going back and forth, back and forth. And a line started piling up because people wanted a picture with Billy, and those people I knew. So I started introducing these people to Billy Blanks, like Billy Blanks and I had been best friends all along. And Billy kind of smiled, and he says, yeah, it's like that. We're brothers. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So it was pretty cool.
He's a cool guy. Absolutely. And you also have such an open personality. I can just see in my mind's eye that you two just bonded immediately. You are just amazing. I hear the kickboxing, I hear teaching, I hear hockey coaching, you're martial artist, you're an author. And I want to ask, is there anything that you can't do?
That's a longer list. It would take 3 podcasts. But let me finish up Billy, because I always end my podcasts and presentations and video blogs. So I did a little video with Billy, and at the very end, I said, hey, I love you. God loves you. Please share that love with the world. And until we talk again, get out there and do your best. I promise you'll be your very, very best. God bless you. God bless your loved ones. Speak to you soon. And Billy looks at me, and this is on camera. He goes, thank you. Talking about God. I appreciate that. And on camera, he gives me a big old Billy Blanks hug. And that touched my heart more than just about anything else, because Billy's a devout Christian as well. And he puts God first in everything he does. Many people don't know that. So be yourself. Now, I've done that before, and other people are like, I don't know if I like that ending. Well, that's fine. Before I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. Now I'm like, well, I'm sorry. I'll pray for you.
Oh, yes, I love it. I'm the same. I speak openly about my faith, and if people don't like it, well, that's their problem.
Well, and I
tell you, do you have your cross? Oh, yeah. I love it.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. So yes, if there's anything I can't do, there's a lot I can't do, but with God on my side, he's my corner man now. He's my Mickey for Rocky. He helps me get me through the battles I need. But I got to remember that, and here's often, and we'll touch on this here. Yeah. I need to do another one because it's been years since I did this. The video the video blog / podcast was, where's God in your life? Is he on a shelf in a jar that says break glass in time of need? Or is he on your heart and you carry him around? And what happens is oftentimes when we get in a dire situation, then we go grab God off the shelf and we break the glass. God, I need you. Please help me. And then when he helps us through the situation, we get another jar, put him in there. All right, God, I'll put you back up here. When I need you, I'll call on you. Well, is that where God is? No, what we forget to do is after we get the reward that we asked for, we prayed for, we worked for, we need to make sure we thank God for that and then keep him close. Thank you, God, for helping me achieve this goal. Thank you for helping me. Give praise and thanks as opposed to just take, and then put away until next time of need.
I agree. And I'm super blessed to be in this session with someone that gives God the honor and the glory that he deserves. And I'm even happier to know that Billy Blanks is also a believer. I mean, that is just a cherry on the cake because I love Tybo. I have all the DVDs and I still use them. So that's wonderful.
Well, and then what often gets misconstrued is Billy's a human being, just like I'm a human being, you're a human being, all the listeners are human beings. So people want to pick and choose, maybe areas and times in their life when maybe they weren't at their best. And I've got a laundry list of those as well. And just know that, what was the old thing? He who points the finger has also got three fingers pointing back at them. So be careful who you chastise and be careful who you call out, because we all make mistakes. I've made so many mistakes in the past. I was baptized in 2017, and I like to say, when I got out of that tub, that thing was filthy dirty. That was a lot of sin that got washed away. And I'd love to say, well, I've never sinned since. I'm a human being, but I do my best to pray for the strength, because what's the old saying? Satan preys on those that are the strongest, because he knows if he can convert you over, now he's going to use that strength that you have to entice others to come on board with him. So keep God first place. And my grandma would always ask me when I was a kid, and I put it in my book, actually, she would say, Richie, are you putting God first? And as a kid, sometimes just to shut her up, I'd lie. Yeah, grandma, whatever. Nowadays, grandma, she's up in heaven. Yes, I'm doing my very best. That's why I wear my cross. Actually, got a cross tattooed on my chest as well as a reminder.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. And I like your granny. I mean, she instilled that good value in you. And, even as a child, as a child, you were like, but now that you're a grown up, that is really something that you hold on to and hang on to. That's just phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It is amazing. And, you've been through so many things. And what I find refreshing is you mentioned the bankruptcies, and that all came from a good heart. It all came from a place where you really just want to help people, and there's so many people out there. I mean, we all go through life and we make mistakes, and sometimes people abuse and use us because they see that in us. They know we want to help and uplift. But still, through all of it, I'm sitting here with you. We are having this conversation. I'm in South Africa. You are in the States. And I'm so thankful to God to see that joy of the Lord. I mean, Rich, whenever we engage, you're always so happy. You're always so full of joy. And that's the joy of the Lord that is just shining through. I mean, how did that time in your life, how did it shape your belief system?
That's a really great question. And folks listening and watching, I'm a human being too. I have my down days. I was in Illinois this past weekend I sold the Martial Arts Academy in August. And my senior student had bought the academy, so we're in good hands. And I was there for the ribbon cutting on Friday with the Chamber of Commerce, and then we had clinics, which I was so grateful and happy to teach, and then the black belt testing afterwards, and then I got an opportunity to hang out with some friends. But travel is tough, I was blessed because the flights were wonderful. The hotel stay was nice. I did wake up Saturday morning to snow, which I wasn't living in Florida. I haven't seen snow in a year, which is fine. Big reason we're here, but. But when it's time to show up, it doesn't mean you can't. You share your dark times with God. You share with those that are that can help you. But I know we had talked before about the plum disease. Zig Ziglar has a thing that he had titled "The Plum Disease." Poor little old me. Plum disease. Poor little old me. And if you go out there with poor little old me, you're going to get a little attention from some people, but you're going to get the wrong attention from the wrong people. You're going to have other plum diseasers coming. And Zig would also say pity parties are the worst party to have because nobody brings gifts to a pity party. They only bring more pity. I have a party, baby. I want some gifts, man. And not more pity. So it's not always the top of the world. World is not all sunshine and rainbows. And I definitely don't live in this utopian world at all, the struggles. But when it's time for me to show up, it's time for me to empower your audience, you, the hockey teams that I have the blessed honor to talk to, the students when I go give presentations or when I give a clinic or a workshop or when I get paid thousands of dollars to give a speech. It's time for me to show up. Now, I'll share my past. I'll share some dark days. I'll share what I went through because my battles, people, my gosh, how'd you do it? I'm like, well, my battles are nothing compared to the battles and struggles that others have gone through. It's, and I often share this, if we were to all throw our problems into a big giant pile and see what the struggles and troubles and battles that others are going through, as bad as we think our life is, we would say, holy cow, let me have my problems back. You go and keep yours. How in the heck did you survive? So that's when you get in that, how bad my life was, how bad your life was. What are you going to win at the end of that? A pity party award? Come on. So when it's time for me to show up, I'm going to give you everything I've got because I made a decision to be here today. So my honor is going to be everything that I'm all about. The integrity, I do what I say I'm going to do when I'm going to do it and perform at a level that is honorable and the utmost integrity. Yeah. The discipline is to do what I say I'm going to do and discipline myself day in and day out. Doesn't mean I don't have dark days or bad days. And then the respect, I've got to have the self-respect for honor, integrity, and discipline in order to respect myself enough to respect you, your audience, and everybody I'm talking to in order to give that very best, in order to empower them to become their very, very best. So that's how I do it. I mean, there's days I get there, but it's showtime. I get one of my favorite things to do, it becomes so natural, regardless of how tired I am, is to talk, is to speak, is to empower. Now, those are also the same things that got me in trouble as a kid, talking too much. My second grade teacher would always say, Richie talks too much on my report card. Richie had to write so many sentences, I probably got carpal tunnel. I will not talk in class. I will not talk when the teacher's talking. All those different things, But, and I share that because regardless how tired you are, whatever is your God-given talent will come out naturally and you'll do it and you'll have the utmost energy. And empowering others, it's a transfer of energy, that serendipity that works. I give everything I've got with not expecting anything in return. I'm the one that's going to win the most, right? It's going to be back and forth. And that is an unbelievable feeling. So when it's time to show up and my close family and circles and people that I pay my mentors, they're the ones that hear a little bit of, oh man, I'm struggling today. Help me out with this. But they're at a level that I'm striving to get at so I can help everybody else get to that level and then above, because you've got to constantly keep climbing up that ladder of success. And one encouragement is this. When you're climbing that ladder of success, yes, reach down and pull someone else up, but don't ever, ever, ever let go of this rung yourself. Don't ever reach down with both hands. The reason, they will pull you down. And oftentimes when you get down there, it's going to be hard for you to get out. Have you ever heard the crabs in the bucket story?
I have not. I would love to learn that story.
Crabs in a bucket are this. You go to the beach and you get a bunch of sand crabs and you put them in a bucket. If they collectively work together and stood on top of each other, on top of each other, and the one little crab gets to the top, he hangs on to the top of the bucket with his little pincher. He grabs the next crab, gets him out, grabs the next crab, gets him out. They could all escape if they work together. However, crabs in a bucket are this. One little ambitious crab, Juanita, you're an ambitious crab. You're going to climb up there. Well, the other crab's like, hey, where the heck is she going? She's staying here in this misery with us. So they'll pull you back down. You're like, no, I'm getting out of this thing. Let's work together. We can do this. So you climb up, and they pull you down again. And they're pretty much saying, hey, you do this again, we're going to beat you down. Or you go up there again. The crabs will literally kill the ambitious crab, rip their claws off, their pinchers off, and kill the crab to keep them in the bucket. Well, that's society. Society doesn't want you climbing out of that proverbial bucket, out of that round hole, because if you do, then it should empower others to do it, you would think. But unfortunately, on the other thing is they feel like, well, why did she do it? Well, she got lucky, or she got this and that. No, you were ambitious. You worked hard on it. And other people will literally try and pull you down. So the crabs in the bucket is, if we collectively work together, it's great. But when you're climbing, you're not going to have that oftentimes. So grab the ones. And if they don't want the help, let go and grab someone that does. And other people might say, well, you're giving up on people. No, the crabs in the bucket is a real literal story on life, right? On how it works. So there's the crabs in a bucket story. You have your ambition. Make sure you're pulling the right crabs out with you.
Yeah, I love that. And that is something that is going to stay with me, because I've noticed that there are people out there that don't want to uplift others, that don't want to see others excel. And I mean, my goodness, we are all here to assist each other. I agree. Cut out those negative energies, cut out those negative people, and just work with the people, that want to run with you, that want to run alongside you. Thank you so much for that illustration.
Well,
And,
engines
yeah.
push and drive, anchors pull you down. Who is in your life?
Yes. True.
God lifts you up, Satan pulls you down.
He does. He makes you sin, and then he makes you feel guilty about it. Yeah.
He works both sides of it. That's for doggone sure. I just had this presentation to an anonymous group. They got Alcoholic Anonymous, Drug Anonymous, Sex Anonymous, all the AA groups, right?
Yeah.
And it was this very thing. Satan will tempt you to do the thing. He'll tempt you. And then when you do it, he'll say, and you call yourself a Christian? Yeah, right. A real Christian wouldn't do that. You're terrible. You're disgusting. You're worthless. And I knew you weren't a real Christian. You're nothing but a fake. So he's telling you all these things, the insecurities you already feel about yourself, right? Because you're like, oh, man, you feel down. Now Satan's going to pile it on. So then what does he do? He goes, but you know what? If you would do that again, I bet you'd feel better. And maybe you do for that 30 seconds or whatever it is, you feel better. And then he comes at you even harder. You're such a loser. Not only did I get you once, I got you twice. And you call yourself a Christian? There is no way. Satan plays both sides. And you're like, how could somebody be so sinister, so evil, so demonic? Well, that's who Satan is.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see him for what he is, and sometimes he fools us. I've been in the ministry for 15 years, and people put us as pastors on pedestals. Let me tell you something, and I'm actually writing my first book about the things that happen behind the scenes and the things that I've seen and learned. And we are just normal people like the rest of the world, and we make mistakes, and we also go through sadness and trial and tribulations and pain, and we make mistakes. All of us, none of us are perfect. But I'm so happy that you articulated the cycle that the enemy puts us in, because that's going to speak to someone in the audience. They needed to hear that, so that they can acknowledge, what they are busy with and how they are in it. And we all go through that.
Well, Satan's the greatest manipulator. I mean, look what he tried to tempt Jesus in the desert, right? And Satan knows the scripture. He knows it really well, and he knows it so well he's able to twist the scripture. Just an example I heard recently in a book I was reading, and it was, what's the name of the book? Don't Let the Enemy Have a Seat at Your Table by Louis Giglia. And he talked about how what he got out of the Adam and Eve and the apple was Satan tempted Eve, by saying, hey, why don't you come over and touch the tree? And I know God said you would die if you touch the tree, but go ahead and touch it. Well, Eve touches the tree. Now, of course, God did not say if you touch the tree is if you eat from the tree of life. But what Satan did was manipulated Eve. So his next thing is, see, you touched the tree. You didn't die. So what else is God hiding from you? Why don't you take a bite of the apple? Oh, he said, I'll die. No, he said you'd die if you touched the tree. You didn't die. So why are you waiting to take a bite of the apple so you can see what God wants, that God sees? He doesn't want you to see that. So he manipulated and twisted the scripture. And then, of course, she takes a bite of the apple and then entices Adam to do the same. But that was the thing. But Satan twisted it by saying the tree. So once he had his foot in the door, and that's what he does. And you think about it in ways in your life and your audience listening's life and in my life, the way he'll twist things. He'll do this and that. He'll plant the seeds. He'll call you out. He'll offer you pleasure and to relieve the pain. But after you do the pleasurous thing that you shouldn't do, then the pain comes along because he's going to double down on you. So anyway, that's something I just recently shared with several folks that were battling addiction, and I talked to them just as candidly as I'm talking to you and your audience right now, because unfortunately, I mean, good or bad, that's who I am. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I am going to, kind of sympathize with you and try and help you. But I'm not going to lie and tell you it's okay, because we know it's not okay. That's just a lie. Yeah. We made a mistake. It's okay to make mistakes, but now let's learn from that mistake.
Yes. And, I believe that we are believers, and I believe the scripture that says the Spirit testifies with our spirit that we are children of God. And I feel like our conversation today is being Spirit-led. So someone needed to hear that. And I'm glad that, you are open to discuss that. I appreciate that about you. And, as parents, we make mistakes. We're not perfect. I had that virtual coffee with you, and you shared, when your kids were coming to you, and you would say, just in a minute, buddy. I'm guilty of that as well. My son would come to me countless times and say, come, let's watch an episode of Flash. And I'd say, no, I have to first do this, or I have to first do that. We all do that. Would you like to explain to the audience what happened in that time of your life?
Yeah, and then I'm definitely going to explain that. And then I'm going to give a good gut punch to everyone listening out there. It's something I forgot to bring up, but I was reviewing the notes. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is something that needs to be told. And it's a little story of my daughter. But yes. Yeah, when I was trying to grow the business, I was so focused on that. And of course, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, that's all there is to it. And that's why I encourage other entrepreneurs, especially young, new starting entrepreneurs, to get around people that know what you don't know. Now, in the process, there's a good chance you're going to run into people that aren't the best people to follow, and you may make some mistakes, but don't let that get you down. But the In a Minute Buddy was my son Austin when he was little. And that's when I was really trying to get the business growing. I'd already been in it. We had already been through one bankruptcy. I did not want to go through another one. The first one was in 2001. Austin was born in 2000. And second bankruptcy was 2008. So I did not want that to happen a second time. So I was doing absolutely everything I could. And I was always a workaholic because I always thought I could outwork my problems. Well, now I got a young kid. Well, actually two. Austin was, at the In a Minute Buddy starting when he was like 4 or 5. And then Madeline is 3 years behind him. So 1 or 2. But I didn't learn on the first son. And anyway, he would come and say, hey, Dad, can we play ball? And have his glove. I'm like, oh, buddy, man, I'd love to. But I really got to finish this in a minute, buddy. Come back in a minute and I should be done. He would go run off, do whatever the heck he did. And they come back and super excited. Dad, has it been a minute? It's been a minute. Can we go and play? I'm like, oh, buddy, gosh darn it. Daddy's really got to get this done. I am so sorry. Gosh darn. Come back in another minute or two and I should be good. And he would run off and come back again all excited. I'm like, oh, you know what, buddy, just have a seat right here. Let me get this last email done. Let me get this last workshop done. Let me get this last thing done. And I'd look over and he's asleep on the floor. And I would tell myself, you know what? Tomorrow I am going to be a better parent. Tomorrow, I always get choked up when I talk about this. I'm going to do better because that's the most important thing in my life. I'd love to lie to you and say that tomorrow I did a better job, but I often didn't. And then my daughter, she got a little older and her same thing. Dad, can we play T? Can we do this and that? In a minute, sweetie. In a minute, sweetie. Now, when I tell you folks listening that, I've got flaws too, that is something I never used to share because I'm embarrassed. I mean, that's just being a flat out terrible parent, but I didn't know what I didn't know, right? My whole goal is I'm going to get this business going so I can spend time with them when they're older. So fast forward, and this is a story that I definitely wanted to share. Daughter's about 15 years old. She's 19 now, so it was just a handful of years ago. And she's one of the instructors at the academy, and so is my son Austin, and Emmett helps out the academy, and my wife's there too. So the whole family's there. They didn't necessarily want to be there, but they were there helping out and instructing. So I'm running around at the academy talking to people, straightening things out. Oh, I got to fix this problem. Oh, this I got to take care of this, and da 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 da. It's pack night, good night. And my daughter comes to me and she says, hey, Dad, can we talk? And I'm sorry, in a minute, Madeline. So I go and do something else and she waits. And I come back. All right, I said, what's up? That's what I say to my daughter who wants to talk to her dad. And she goes, well, can we step in the office? I'm going to talk to you in private. And I'm like, okay, Madeline, I'm really busy, sweetheart. Look how busy it is here, this and that. But okay. So pull the door shut and she goes, hey, Dad. And I'm just being honest here, half-heartedly listening. And she said these words. She said, Dad, we all know that we're not the most important thing in your life, but could you spend a little bit of time with us, please? Now, I've been hit by some big men before. I don't know that I've ever been hit that hard. It hurt. And telling the story today hurts. I tell that story openly, not that I want sympathy, it was my own fault, but to hopefully save somebody else from having to hear that gosh darn story in your own life. So what do? I lie to my daughter. I say, sweetheart, I love you more than anything in the world. You are the most important thing in my life. Oh, yes, I want to do stuff with you, but I got to do this, this, and this first. I completely blew her off. What she was saying was, Dad, show me that you love me. Show me that you care. Spend that time with me. I tell that story the first time 2 years ago, and it was part of a Zig Ziglar speaker training. And I got the same, like, oh my gosh, reaction. So I get home and I tell my wife that during my little 4-minute, I had to do a 4-minute pocket speech. That's what I told. And my wife goes, that was not the first time Madeline said that to you. I'm like, no, that is the first time. That hurt so bad and so painful. She's never said anything that hurtful to me. And Madeline was just being honest. She wanted to spend time with her daddy. My wife says, she said that to you 2 or 3 weeks ago in the car, but you were so busy talking on the phone that you didn't hear it. Holy cow. So I share that heartfelt story because, man, have I learned from that? Well, I don't know what it was. I may have been here in Florida. I was working on something, and Emmett, my youngest son, Dad, can we go outside and work on shooting the puck? And I said, well, Emmett, I'm going to do this. And my wife comes up and she goes, in a minute, buddy. Is that what you're going to say?
Oh,
I'm like,
my goodness.
Done. So I share this with you because I have no idea what the heck I was working on when Austin wanted to play when he was a little kid. I have no idea what I was working on when Madeline wanted to have tea with me. I have no idea what super stressful thing that was going on at the studio at the time that needed my attention more than my daughter, who was craving for attention at 15 years old. I have no idea who I was talking to on the phone when Madeline said it the first time that I didn't hear. But I do remember not playing with them. I do remember ripping their little hearts out. For what? It's not like I was doing it to be mean. I was just trying to focus on work. But you'll never remember the work, but you always remember the times you don't have. So now I want to spend time with my kids, but they're 22 and 19 and 13. And Emmett, since I'm coaching his team, I get to spend time with that. But the 19 and 20-year-old, Austin and Madeline, I have to literally buy time with them. And what I mean by that is I have to fill up their tank of gas. Hey, I'll go and fill up your tank of gas. So they'll spend time with Dad now because they're 19 and 22. They're off doing their own thing, right? And but I'll say, look, I fill up your tank of gas. I want a whole tank's worth of gas of time. So you got to spend that with me. And I share that because you'll never get that time back. You'll never remember what was pressing, what was important, what you were working on, or what you were doing. But you always remember the time you did not spend with your kids. So anyway, I just wanted to share that heartfelt story with you because it hurts. I mean, and it's genuine. Every time I tell it, I get teary-eyed, and because I remember that. Anyway.
Yeah. I appreciate, that touched my heart completely. I really take my hat off to you. Thank you for being vulnerable and for sharing that. It could not have been easy. And I want to say, I understand completely where you are coming from. We work hard and we try our best for our families. And I've also been guilty of that. So you are not the only parent that does that. So, just take that to heart. And I think you're a phenomenal father. And I know you've been, a strong father figure to people in martial arts school as well. And I know that your kids understand where you come from. And, speaking about it, already says so much. So thank you very much for that. And, I love the fact that you're an author. You write about your life, and I would like for you to explain to the audience your books. In the one you brought out recently, I love the ABCs. That was just amazing. But would you like to talk about your books with us, please?
Sure. Well, the ABCs that you mentioned, there it is. ABCs, A through Z, or it's I Believe in Me, A through Z positive affirmations, and there's just a couple of them there.
Beautiful.
And and before I jump on the books, one of the biggest life-changing things in my life, like I mentioned, 2017 is when I was baptized. That was huge, simply because, Grandma would always ask me if I was putting God first. Now, unfortunately, Grandma Bonnie passed away in 2011, but, she was the first one I prayed to when I was about to get baptized, and I prayed to her afterwards. And it was a really, really, really good day. And it just gives me that bulletproof armor that was missing to help fight Satan and all the other things that the temptations in life. The books, the ABC's book, the whole idea behind it, and I've been working on that the past 2 years, and we finally got it done, was to take the alphabet, to teach young kids the alphabet, but at the same time, plant positive seeds in their little mental gardens. I like to think our minds are gardens. And if you don't plant anything, weeds grow. You plant the wrong thing, negativity, self-doubt, limiting beliefs, that's going to grow. However, if you plant the right seeds, faith, confidence, belief, hope, passion, desire, attitude, effort, all those things are going to grow as well. The unfortunate part is the positive seeds, you have to fertilize those and water them, make sure they get sunlight. You have to keep working on them. And the weeds, it doesn't take anything, and they'll just grow and destroy everything. So my whole idea behind that is the positive affirmations. So subconsciously, when they're reading the book or their parents are reading the book to them, you're planting those thoughts in their head subconsciously. Like, A, I have an amazingly awesome attitude. B, I am brave and bully-proof. C, as I C, as I am courageous and confident. D, as I am determined to do my best. So you're planting those seeds in that little mental garden at an early age. So it's not a matter of if, but when some little knucklehead comes along and tries to say, you're worthless, you're nobody, you're stupid, you're dumb, you're ugly, all the things that kids say and do, they're like, no, I have an amazingly awesome attitude. I am brave and bully-proof. I am determined to do my best. I am eager to learn new things. These things just flow out of their little minds, or they may hopefully verbalize them and say them, but if anything, they're in their mind that says, this person doesn't know me. That's what I want. Because unfortunately, oftentimes we've been so many negative things have entered our mind by the time we become preteens that all it does then is those weeds really start to grow with the own, as a preteen, obviously you're going through puberty and adolescence and the thoughts and then social media and everything else that's going on. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to 34. 10 to 34. And 100% of those deaths are correlated with bullying of some type, either, a bullying online, either bullying like exclusion or shaming, or physical bullying, or you physically bully yourself by taking your own life.
Yes, my goodness, that statistics. Wow.
It's sad. And they said over 1 million people a year take their own life, and billions of people go to bed every single night lacking hope, faith, and confidence that tomorrow is going to be any better, lacking hope, faith, and confidence they are worthwhile of living in this world. It's ridiculous. And of course, who's the conductor of the instrumental thoughts in our head? It's Satan. Yeah. So anyway, that's the little kid's book. The Becoming Bully-Proof actually took me 8 years to write. And it's a story about me as a kid meeting me 40 years later as Master Grogan, and we go on a journey together where the older me is teaching the younger me everything I wish I would have known about believing in myself, about that I am, a gift from God. I am an original. I remember one of the ways kids would bully me when I was a kid to say, Richie, God broke the mold when he made you. Now they were just spitting fun and this and that, but I'm like, why can't I be like everybody else? Why am I didn't know the word was hyperactive, but why do I have more energy? Why am I always going? And why do I like to talk? And why do kids keep being mean to me when I'm just trying to, you do what Grandma Bonnie said, lay my heart out there. So the kind of background on Grandma Bonnie was my dad was he's part of the 101st Airborne Division. He was a Vietnam vet, and he got severely wounded over there. Matter of fact, he shot the howitzers and supported Hamburger Hill with mortar fire. And when the VC left Hamburger Hill, they went over and attacked the hill that he was on. He and one other guy are the only ones that survived. And he has survivors, what do you call it?
Is it post-traumatic stress syndrome?
Well, he's got that, but it's the fact that he survived and everybody except one other guy died on the hill. He feels guilty that he survived. What happened was he got blown in the concertina wire and was left for dead for a day and a half, and they pulled him out. So now my mom's the one that shared a lot of this with me. My dad never ever talks about any of it, which I can understand. And we didn't have a very good relationship growing up. I never knew. He was firm on me because, well, he knew how tough life was. I often say that Johnny Cash song, A Boy Named Sue. I don't know if you ever heard that or not, but it could have been A Boy Named Richie. Richie, I'm not going to be around. You're going to toughen up. Richie, your world's going to hand it to you. You better toughen up. The world's going to take you. It's going to kill you. It's going to beat you down. I mean, these are the conversations. I'm like, why the hell is Dad like this? What's going on here? What did I do? Well, he just did the best he could do. He did. So anyway, growing up, my mom, I was born in 1970. My mom lived with my grandma, Grandma Bonnie, and her two sisters. So I had four girls, women, pretty much raising me. In 1970, Dad he was in Vietnam from 68 and got injured in 69, had to serve out his 2-year term in Germany. And then he became, he went on to other things and then became an over-the-road truck driver. So a lot of my life growing up, especially those first 4 or 5 years, were living with four women. And then Dad would come home and see that Richie was pretty soft, had too much of an estrogen influence, if you will. So now he's going to toughen me up. So
I love that.
yeah. And I ain't going to have a wussy in the family. I ain't going to have this and that. And so anyway, that's where a lot of the soft heartedness come from. My grandma would say, Richie, it's better to trust everybody and only be wrong sometimes, to love everybody and care for everybody, than it is not to love anybody. Now, my dad, he was all about, you can't trust anybody out there. They're all out to take advantage of you. They're all out to put you down. It's a me world. If you trust somebody, if you put your heart out there, they're going to take advantage of you. They're going to eat you alive, and eventually they're going to kill you. Poor Dad. I love him to this day. I mean, he still struggles. I love him more now than I ever have in my life, because now I realize all the trauma he truly went through. That was the growth thing. So I tell you that because that's what went into the book here. And it's the younger me not knowing what the heck is going on, why these kids bullying me, being mean to me. Well, the older me coming along and says, what we're going to do is we're going to work on your self-respect. We're going to work on your attitude and effort. We're going to work on your self-esteem, your self-confidence, your belief in yourself, and you're going to earn it. You're not going to be given anything. You're going to earn it, because that's the only true way you can ever truly believe in yourself. So I talk about that on a journey, and we tie in the ABCs to become bully proof, which is kind of our trademark, if you will. The A is awareness and avoidance of negative situations, negative, dangerous people. B is to believe in yourself with your bully-proof armor. C is to communicate clearly and confidently with your tiger's eyes, your lion's voice, your empowered posture, not your defeated posture, your empowered posture. And the D is defend yourself against physical attacks. So anyway, that's the whole premise of the story. And the book, as I mentioned, took 8 years to write, because when I first, I'll share this with you. I've shared it a couple other times. The first title of the book was Square Peg Round Hole: Why Try to Fit In When You Were Born to Stand Out? Now that book is on the shelf. It will come out when it's right. But my mentor at the time, and still is, was Chris Widener. Fantastic man. I love him, and he's helped me in so many ways. He had said, look, that's great. He says, but you're really not right now, you're doing everything with kids, with the bully proof. Write about that. Really make the big impact and the big splash. And then you can work on that book later, but work on this book. So I'm like, okay, it's kind of reluctant, but I did, taking the advice of my mentors. So I put everything into this book. And long story short, I went through 3 editors, 2 writing coaches, and 8 years of doing it. And what happened was, the first thing I sent over was about 26,000 words. And the first or second editor says, hey man, this is good stuff, but it sounds like you're teaching a class. I said, well, I am. That's what I do. I coach, I instruct. He goes, man, it's a hard read, because it's pretty much kind of lecturing or telling you got to do this, this, and this. I said, well, what do you suggest? And he says, well, you need to build narration in. And I swear to you, this is my reply. What does narration mean? I don't even know what that word means. And I truly didn't. Everybody think, this guy's an idiot. I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. And he goes, narration is build a story. Tell a story about, paint a picture. They're in the truck, and then they turn left on this dusty road, and they get down the road, and Joe backs the truck up. So you paint a scene. Now you got interaction between the characters, and you got to really bring these characters to life so the reader can read it. And I said, is that like a novel? And he says, yeah, you need to make this thing a novel. I'm like, no, it's a how to become bully proof. And that was the original name, was Bully Proof, then how to become bully proof. So now it's becoming bully proof. So it's a journey. But anyway, so I work on that for literally 2.5, 3 years. And I send it back to him, and he goes, okay, you got narration in there, but were over on the word count. So I went from 26,000 words to like 68,000 words. And he goes, you're over by 25, 30,000 words here. You got to hit the sweet spot is 38, 45,000, somewhere in that window. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I had a little temper tantrum like this. Screw it. I'm done. This thing sucks. I'm terrible. I'm never doing this again. And after a little pity party, I decide I'm going to work on it some more. Then he tells me, he says, you know what? I've enjoyed working with you, but the way this is going, I'm not probably the guy you really need to be your editor anymore. I'm like, we've been on this journey for 5 years and you're dumping me? He goes, no, I'm not dumping you. Your intended audience is 9 to 15 and adults. He said, and the story you've created is wonderful, but you need somebody that really focuses on that niche. And I'm like, okay. And I keep thinking, my gosh, am I supposed to write this book? So you think about all the trials and tribulations. You think about King David, which is my absolute favorite king in the Bible. Matter of fact, I try and emulate King David's first Bible story I heard, David and Goliath, right? And not being a very big person. And it seems like all the fights I've had against Goliath. Yeah. I'm thinking, son of a gun. Thing has taken me 5 years already. This is the second editor, the second writing coach. And I've gone from doing this, what I thought was supposed to be the square peg round hole, to this bully-proof instructional guide. Now it's a novel, but it's too dang long. And I've shortened it down, but now he's not going to want to work with me. So all these thoughts are playing in my head, right? So now I got to interview new editors to do this. I don't want to do it, but I do. And I remember the first one I got back from her, it looked like one of my high school papers. And what I mean by that, I wasn't a very good student. I talked too much, played too much, flirted too much, played sports too much, and everything else. So I got, it was all red. So I barely graduated high school. That's not making joke. That's serious. And I tell high school students that all the time because they say, well, you're successful. You didn't have to do this. I said, look, you have no idea how hard I had to work. And I was just absolutely, it wasn't very smart because in high school, at least the education was free. Everything I've paid for since then to gain an education cost me money. Take the free education. So anyway, so she sent it back.
Yes, I mean, Rich, every time we engage, it's just, I love the person that you are. I told you are dedicated.
What's that?
I told you how dedicated you are. I see that here as well. I mean, having to start over with a new publisher and everything.
So anyway, the journey wasn't easy on the book, but so I get it back and I print it out and it's all red. It looks like a high school paper. I throw that sucker in the paper trash and I storm out and I said, I am done. Told my wife, this book is terrible. I'm finished with it. I don't care how long I've been working on it. I ain't doing it. I am not doing it. Of course, I'm just blowing off steam. And then I go to the gym and hit the crap out of equipment, this and that. And I'm like, all right. So what are you thinking, God? And he said, think and get it out of the dang trash and do what you're supposed to do. Yeah. All right. So I dig it out and start the process over again. But anyway, long story short, we finally got the darn book done. It was really over 8 years of writing, but it is, in my opinion, and oftentimes you get something done, and you're like, oh, I wish I would have added this. I should have added that. Yeah. I just finished the Audible, which it was basically I read the whole book and narrate the scenes out, which reading out loud is tough. Narrating, that was on another level. So we had 9, I think it was 9 total, 90-minute recording sessions. So however many recording hours that is, I don't know. The book itself is only about 4 hours. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. The book itself is about 4 hours, but I am truly proud of this book. I'm truly proud of the stories in there. And we hit #1 bestseller in 4 categories on Amazon. So that's But obviously, I want to get this in the hands of as many kids and parents as possible. Yeah. And if I could humbly ask, Grogan's Bully Proof. And after you read it, if you loved it, give it a 5-star review and please encourage somebody else, because the material in this book is truly going to change lives and empower kids and parents and hopefully keep hundreds or millions of kids from killing themselves. But if it keeps just 1 kid and then 2 kids and then 3 kids, obviously that's a start in the right direction.
Beautiful, beautiful. I see you transforming society as you go. And I love the way you converse. I love the way how you articulate things So I can't wait to read your book because it's going to be amazing. I can just say to the audience, I know it's going to be phenomenal. You've met Rich now. You're meeting him face to face. So when you read the book, you will know how to tie that voice in the book with to whom and to this lovely person that we have here with us today. So I just love it. Tell me, how do we do that review for you? Will you give me the link in the post? Then I'll make it available for the audience and they can go and just do reviews for you.
That would be so fantastic. Thank you very much. So the host for everything is our website. It's Grogan's Bully Proof. My last name, Grogan, or Grogans, Bully, Bully, Proof, PROOF.com, grogansbullyproof.com. And Juanita will put the link in there. On there, everything, it's source for everything. Our podcast, we got 324 episodes. The last episode that just launched on Friday was Bully Proofing Yourself by Living the Four Agreements. And the Four Agreements is one of my favorite books by Don Miguel Ruiz. So I'm not going to give you any more on that. You'll have to listen to the podcast. It's also a live stream, so you can listen to it or you can watch on YouTube. Same thing, Grogan's Bully Proof. And on our website, you've got a link for both books. You want to pick them both up, go ahead. They're on Amazon, and you order them. You'll have them in a day and a half or so. And then what else? Oh, if you fill out the little where you put your name and your email address, you'll get a free 2-page PDF. And the PDF is the ABCs to become bully-proof for kids. On one side, on the back side, it's the ABCs to bully-proof your kids for parents. So, and what to look for, what to be aware of. So that's a free PDF. And then, of course, you'll be part of our newsletter. And I won't bombard you with things. You'll get once a month a bully-proof tip. You also know about our new podcast coming out, or new video blogs coming out. And then, of course, you can subscribe on social media to follow, so you're constantly updated on those things. But my goal with that is just to give you as much free content as possible. And then our online courses aren't done yet, but they're hopefully, would like to have them done by Christmas time, but we'll see. But as soon as those are done, you'll have access to those as well. The book, I Believe in Me, is just available right now in this format. It's for little kids, a big old book. But and Becoming Bullyproof is available here in paperback. It's available in Kindle, and the Audible, as I mentioned, I finished recording. It will hopefully be available within the next 2 to 3 weeks. We got a couple edits to go, but I really enjoyed that the recording process. I was acting it out behind the microphone. Yeah. It was fantastic.
You have the right personality for that, because you love to, speak to people. So I can just imagine. I can't wait to hear it. It's going to be amazing. And the value that you bring, giving that PDF as well, and creating these books for children, because you said this somewhere. I heard you say that. I'm sure it was in a breakout room or maybe on one of our calls, but you said that bullying is not something that's going to go away. And that is true. Your books are going to have, they're going to speak to generations to come, because it is a problem in society.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. It was, for a number of years, decades, I would kind of jump on the wagon with everybody else and say, we're going to stop bullying. We're going to stop bullying, bully prevention. And the truth of the matter is, you can't prevent something from happening that's been going on since Cain and Abel, right? Yes. Bullying's been around since the first two brothers walked the face of the earth. That didn't end very well for either one of them. Cain kills Abel, so he's dead. He'd been bullied to death. And then Cain lives a life of misery, right? So he essentially bullied himself his whole life. And so bullying's been around since Cain and Abel. And I like to say Cain and Abel didn't have social media. So we've got social media now where so much bullying goes on. So we can't stop it. And maybe it happened as a kid to some of our listeners, or as a teen. Maybe it's happening to folks right now in the workplace, or maybe they're in a bullying relationship with someone else who's stealing their power, stealing their energy, stealing who they are. That's bullying. If someone it's a imbalance of power, if someone's hurting you in physically, mentally, spiritually, they're bullying you. And oftentimes we bully ourselves. We're the meanest, nastiest bully we'll ever face, is the thoughts in here and the person we see in the mirror. That's the meanest bully. So bully proof is all about empowering you to believe in yourself with your bully-proof armor, to deflect the negative arrows that society throws at you. And the bully-proof armor protects your two most vulnerable areas. And your two most vulnerable areas are your brain, your mind, what goes on up here, and your heart. your heart. Never lose your heart. And my poor dad lost his heart. Therefore, he wasn't going to let anybody hurt him again. But in the process, he has a hard time loving anybody. So you go one extreme to the other. Your heart's out there, you pour it out there, but you don't protect it by believing in yourself. It's going to get flayed. And that's being bullied. On the other side, you can't love anybody. Now you're bullying yourself. So there's a balance, and that's what bully proof is all about. Different than bully prevention or stop bullying. Yeah, that's in that sunshine and rainbow utopian world. Oh, we're going to stop bullying and everyone's going to be equal and all this and that. No, we're all different in our own way, but we have to believe in ourselves and our God-given talent and make the best of our life. We're always going to have people that are rude, mean, and disrespectful. But if you believe in yourself, it bounces off. Now, I'm not perfect. I'm working on it too, because you get 100 reviews and I get one negative. And what do I focus on? The darn negative. So that's where I've got to do a better job myself and say, maybe that person just doesn't like me for whatever reason. But then you say, but I want to be liked. Come on.
Well, here at the Meticulous Moment podcast, you are liked. So don't worry about the rest. I love how you articulate Cain and Abel. I've never, ever in my life, and I've been to so many webinars, seminars, you name it, conferences, heard sermons about it. I've never, ever heard someone say it so well, because that's what it was. It was bullying. It led to murder. And unfortunately, Cain lived with that regret and that self-bullying for the rest of his life. I mean,
nobody wins. Nobody wins.
Wow.
I mean, the bully loses the most because they. Obviously, somebody that suicide. A teen takes their life. The effects. Of the family, the friends, and then the person doing the bullying.
Yes.
Nobody ever talks about that. I'm not saying that they should get any kind of they should be punished. There should be consequences. And it shouldn't be justified. But yet the bully, why did they do that? Well, chances are they were bullied and they thought that was the only way to communicate. So now they got the rest of their life thinking about what they did to somebody else. So they're going to bully themselves the rest of their life. And most of the time, bullies at some point in time end up taking their own life too. Nobody wins.
I love that. That's a valuable truth. A valuable truth laid there out in front of the audience now, something to think on, something to, chew on, and really, we should really start to see things in a new light. And I really feel that you bring that fresh perspective. So thank you for that. And your books, I'm going to say it again, your books are going to speak to generations to come. I believe that. I really believe that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And just, I always like to say this too, because sometimes I get guilty of a bully. Bullying is a behavior. It's not a person. It's a behavior.
Wow.
It doesn't mean it's right. And the person that conducts that behavior needs to be, there needs to be a consequence. They need to be punished. But bullying is a behavior. Just like, a person that robs a bank, they say is a bank robber. Well, there was a behavior. They robbed the bank, right?
Yes.
But oftentimes we say the person is a bully, and they did bullying behaviors. It was bullying tendencies. Yes, they did bully, but that person is a human being too. And I try and bring that up in my book, just saying, the characters in there that bullied me as a kid, they're human beings too. They're probably doing it because they were bullied. But once again, it's not justifying it. It's not saying it's right. It needs to be stopped. There needs to be consequences, but go at it from that point of view of what can we do to bully proof that person so they don't continue to bully others.
Yes.
But you got to be willing to change. And unfortunately, a lot of folks are not. So, that gets into the thing. You got to change your behavior. I had to change my behavior. I had to commit to being baptized in order to hopefully be a better Christian, to be a better father, be a better husband, be a better speaker, be a better person that utilizes my God-given talents. But there's oftentimes, just like throwing the dang book in the trash can, there's oftentimes you want to give up. Dig that dang manuscript back out and write it like it's supposed to be and live the life you're supposed to live.
Yeah, lovely. And, when you were speaking about your father, I made a comment. I said, I love that. And what I love about what you said about your father is what I see in you. You had a choice. You could have been like your dad, or you could have made the choice that you are making here today. You could have also hardened your heart, but instead you made the right decision and you decided to take that the pain that you went through and to make it something positive for someone else. And I mean, he loved you, he loves you, and he did it really because he wanted to protect you. But sometimes, and I tell people, sometimes we do the right thing the wrong way.
Yeah, he did. Dad did the best he could do. He knew that I had a soft heart. He knew that I was raised by 4 women, which is not a bad thing. And then when I started teaching aerobics, he's like, "What are you doing?" Because he's a big masculine guy, you know, he's a 101st Airborne, which is an elite fighting unit. I mean, my God, you know, their kind of catch thing is rendezvous with greatness, means they run into battle fearless. You know, half of us aren't going to come back. So what? But anyway, so and he grew up during a difficult time. So he did the best he could do, and I love him for that. And in the book there, when you read it, I am both parts. I am the young kid named Logan and the Uncle Joe. I'm both parts. And actually, with my father there, I kind of talk about, instead of saying anything negative about my dad, there's no way in the world, honor, integrity, discipline, respect, I could try and grab some sympathy, pain points, or book sales by putting my dad down. That would be bullying him, because he did the best he could do. So you'll see how I handled that in the book there.
Amen. And that's something that, you know, that's good that you mentioned that, because I feel sometimes there's too much of that going on. Because I have seen that
point
before.
Point the finger at somebody else. My parents did this to me. My parents abused me. Oh please sympathize with me. Come on. No, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But gosh darn it, I'm sure they did the best they could. Like you said, and I mean, there are bad parents out there. You know, hell, I was a bad parent for telling my kid in a minute, buddy, for not listening to my daughter when she's pouring her heart out to me. To me, that's a bad parent. And But I've obviously apologized over and over and over again, and my kids are sick of hearing it now. We get it, Dad. We love you, Dad. You know, you don't have to apologize anymore, Dad. I said, yeah, but it still hurts me. And
just the fact that you're saying that shows us your beautiful heart. Absolutely. Now your kids understand, and you know what? We all fall short. We all fall short. We all have problems. And I'm thinking about Rocky. You mentioned something about Rocky the other day. Now, I'm not so familiar with the whole quote, but and I love Rocky. I mean, who doesn't? You said the world, he said that the world ain't no sunshine and rainbows. Would you like to tell us about that? I love that when you talked about it.
So I end every speech and every presentation that I do with the Rocky speech. Now, it's much more powerful. I'm in person, but I'll give it to you. So listeners, listen up here. Get ready for some, yes, you're going to go out and want to take on the world after this. You're going to fight. So I love Rocky, love the Rocky movies, love the inspiration, the true fighter. And Sylvester Stallone, check out his bio, you know, what he came from. He wrote this Rocky manuscript when he was flat dead broke. He had no money. He was living out of his car. He actually had to sell his best friend. His dog was his best friend because he couldn't feed his dog and himself. And so he sold his dog, got $50 out of his dog. And he wrote the manuscript Rocky. Somehow got in connection. Well, he'd been in some low rate movies before and some other things before, just a struggling actor and doing everything he could to make it through, but flat out broke. He took this manuscript to a producer and or director, and they loved it, but they didn't want him to play. Well, he wanted to be Rocky, and he wrote it off. Goodness gracious, a boxer named Rocky. Kind of he took bits and pieces. He did the Bruce Lee thing, bits and pieces of things in his life and what he saw, and put it in there. Well, they offered him, I don't know, $10,000 for the thing. Now he's flat broke, had to sell his dog for $50. He's living out of a car. He's starving to death, and he turned it down. He said, no, I want to be in this movie, and I need more than this. So went back again. Then they offered him, and I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but it got up to like $100,000 or $200,000. And and this is back in the 70s. So times were tough, especially, I mean, $10,000 back in the 70s, that was a lot, right? I mean, it's a lot now.
Yeah.
But $100,000, $200,000, but they said they loved the manuscript. They wanted it, but they didn't want him playing the role of Rocky. Well, he kept holding out, kept holding out. So finally, they said, all right, we'll give you whatever. It was significantly less, but he got to be Rocky, and he got whatever it is, royalties on the movie. Well, of course, now we know the Rocky series, where that went. But his dedication, his desire to hold out, because he knew he had something, and he knew he had to be the one to play the role, because no one else would give the role the justification of what he intended in his manuscript. So he films the first Rocky, and of course, then Rocky 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and then Rocky Balboa, and now all the creeds that are coming out. There's a third creed coming out, I heard. I absolutely love them all. So
I love the Creed movies as well.
And they're just heartfelt, right? It's all about David and Goliath, overcoming and battling through and not giving up. And I mentioned every day we're working two different types of muscles. Our perseverance muscles, which are, I'm going to fight another round. I got knocked down, but I'm getting back up. I'm fighting another round. I'm going to go a distance. If I get knocked down, that's just going to strengthen me, because I'm going to get back up again and again and again. That's our perseverance muscles. Or we're working our give up and quit muscles, or throwing the manuscript in the trash because I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm never going to make this happen, or everybody's mean to me, or my dad was mean to me when I was a kid, or this or that. Those are give up and quit muscles. Whichever muscles we work the most are the ones that are going to rule our life. We either choose to persevere or we choose to give up, period. And that's what Rocky is all about. And of course, Rocky led to the Rambos and all those series and everything else. But the Rocky speech, last little drink to get this out, he does this, and man, it hits my heart every time. It's in Rocky Balboa, which I guess is officially Rocky 6. And he's talking to his son. And to set it up, he and those that have seen the movie, you know this. And if you haven't, Rocky 6. Now it's got some slow parts in there, but to me, I love every bit of it. Have you seen Rocky 6?
I have seen up to 5. I can't remember what happened in 6, but please remind me. Maybe I'll remember.
So they do this kind of animated thing. Who would be the champion today if Rocky was fighting this other guy? And I think his name's Dixon. I forgot the other boxer's name. And he's strong, and he's young and this and that. Well, they do this animated thing on like ESPN, and it shows that Rocky would have won. So now all the promoters want Rocky, who owns a restaurant now called Adrian's, because his wife Adrian, and she passed away. She passed away in real life, actually. That's why she was no longer in the movies. But anyway, he owns this restaurant, and he's much older now. And his son has moved up in the world, and he's gotten, from being Rocky's shadow, kind of gotten these nice jobs, the attorney, a law firm, and all these other things. So he's doing good. And Rocky's got the restaurant and just, entertaining with his trophies and belts and telling stories. But the promoters decide, you know what, we need to get this fight together. So they come and talk to Rocky about doing it again. And Rocky's like, well, I don't know. He decides he's going to. He goes to the fight commission, and they won't give him a license to fight because they say he's too old. And then he gives a great speech about, hey, what about, I went through all the tests. I did everything. I passed all the tests, and now you're not going to give it to me? Come on. Well, after that little speech, they end up giving him the certification to do it. So now it's all over the news that Rocky's going to fight Dixon. And once again, I need to watch the movie again. I forgot the fighter's name. So his son comes to Rocky. Rocky's son comes to him and says, I can't believe you're doing this. Why are you doing this? You're embarrassing me. I finally get somewhere in life, and now you're embarrassing me. Doesn't it make you feel bad that you're the laughing stock of everybody? You're going to go out and do this. This guy's going to beat you up. Aren't you embarrassed for yourself? Aren't you embarrassed for me? That's what his son says to Rocky.
My goodness.
And Rocky says, and I'll give you the whole speech. Normally I just go from the world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. I'll give you the whole thing that Rocky says. I got to memorize because I talk about it.
Awesome.
He says, you're not going to, this is to his son, after his son says the embarrassment thing. There's a big pause, and Rocky says, you're not going to believe this, but you used to fit right here in the palm of my hand. And I used to hold you up and say, this kid's going to be something. He's going to be the best thing ever. He's going to be better than any kid in the world, better than anybody. And I watched you, you grew up, and you turned into a man. It was just such a precious gift watching you every single day become who you're going to be. And then somewhere along the line, something changed. You let someone poke a finger in your chest and tell you you're no good. So you start looking around for someone to blame like a giant shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a mean, nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it'll beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, nobody hits as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hits. And you can't be pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. And then he ends by saying,
My goodness.
I'm always going to love you. You're my flesh and blood. You're the greatest thing in my life. But until you start believing in yourself, you ain't going to have a life.
My goodness. Awesome. And you know, those words are spoken in that movie. Those words are spoken by you today, and they're still powerful. And they still spoke to me. And as you speak, I mean, I'm seeing things in my life, you know, things that I've faced. And this is the beauty of leadership right here. This is the beauty of leadership. This is the beauty of humanity. And I felt that humility when you were giving that, you know, and I felt that passion when you were giving that, because you, Rich, you motivate people, you empower them, and I see in your life, you know, the way that you work with people, not telling them everything is sunshine and rainbows, not telling them they are great if they're not great, and just being straightforward with them. You are living the words that were recited just now. You are telling people the way it is, and you are encouraging them in the process. So I owe to you. I appreciate you. And I mean, I'm just so blessed to know you. Thank you so much for that. That was wonderful.
That's the right hook of reality I usually leave folks with at the end there. And
it works.
And in person, everybody gets up and they get the goosebumps and they're like, yeah. And I said, now, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? And I say that so I can hear it too. What am I going to do with it? I've been gifted this day, and it's a gift. I don't know how many days I'm going to be gifted. Been gifted this day. What am I going to do to make God happy and you be the Christian, be the leader, be the author, the father, the husband that I was born to be? What am I going to do with it?
Beautiful. Love it. I love everything you stand for. I'm super, super blessed. This was a phenomenal interview. And, you know, when we talk, time just flies by. I mean, we are down to the last questions. I can't believe it.
Awesome sauce. Well, I appreciate your time and your audience's time, and thank you for giving me a platform to expand my message to the world and hopefully empower, well, not just one or two people, but like I mentioned, 10 million. And I can't do it alone. I realize that I cannot do it alone. So my goal is, please share this with somebody. If you found value, share it with someone or listeners out there. And if you'd be, so kind to jump on our website there and grab a couple copies, great Christmas gifts, and then leave those reviews. And the reviews are so powerful because they empower other people to take action as well. And that's how you get higher in the search engines and the rankings and all the other stuff that you need to break through all the white noise in today's society.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I want to reiterate what you said. I am 100% convinced, 150% convinced those books are excellent Christmas gifts. Yes, because they empower and they educate, and that's more. We need more of that. And I want to ask you, Rich, what's next for you? You know, how can we elevate you? How can we support you? We want to go to your website. We want to purchase your books. We want to give you a review. How else may we elevate you and support you?
Thank you very much again. So, put in your name and email to get on our newsletter list. And like I said, I promise you, I'm not going to bombard you because I do not like getting hundreds of emails from something. I'm like, oh, why do I even put my email address down there? I'm a human being too. So it's going to be content that I believe in my heart is going to be helpful, but also going to keep you updated on the new things that we've got going on with that as well. So our next step is we're finishing how-to books, which is kind of funny because that's how this book started off, on how to Bully Proof. And it's the meat and potatoes out of that book. And the how-to books are going to lead to online programs. And the online programs are going to give this ability to teach the ABCs to become bully proof to others across the world. And when I had the Martial Arts Academy, the whole goal was bringing people to the Martial Arts Academy to help empower them there in person. And I had actually, and I think I shared it with you, we built the business up from nothing 3 different times from being bankrupt. Yeah. And I became a little bit of a big fish in a small pond in the little town of Edwardsville, Illinois. There's roughly 36,000 people there. Now, it was a good feeling because, everybody's wearing my shirts around, wearing my jackets around with Grogan's Martial Arts. And I'd go to restaurants and people buying me dinners and wanting pictures. Yeah. I mean, that felt freaking awesome, man. I'm like, yes. But God tugged at my heart and says, and my wife was very instrumental. Okay, we not that we couldn't do more, but we've done a lot. This message needs to get out globally to the world. Yes. And we can't just move here because you're going to be in this town. Let's go to Florida. We kind of love Florida. We love the white sands, the beaches, the sun, and everything else with Florida. So we did. And now I am a minnow in the giant ocean. So
awesome.
But anyway, so I working together to get these. That next step is the how-to guides, and from that the online programs. So we're going to have a series of the how-to guides: how to bully proof your kids, a parent's guide; how to bully proof yourself, a kid's guide; how to bully proof yourself, a teen adult guide; how to bully proof yourself in an entrepreneur's guide; and then of course how to bully proof yourself, a women's empowerment guide. So we're going to have all these along the way here, and we're going to establish online programs. It's our goal for each and every one of those. So there'll be a variety of programs. Now it does take time, and the first one we're working on, and it's only because it got elevated due to an unfortunate circumstance. In Emmett's hockey league down here, Emmett's my youngest son, a young lady, 16 years old, just took her own life due to suicide. So I got asked by this organization to come in and talk to the coaches and put together a workshop. So it got me thinking, you know what? I think the biggest hit right now would be how to bully proof your team, a coach's guide. So I'm going to write this and put this program together for coaches of, across the perspective, because now instead of me one-on-one with people, I've got coaches, and just say a team has 20 players. Well, if you've got, 10 coaches, 20 players, that's 200, students or players that they can get the message to. So I'm kind of, compounding myself or outsourcing. Wow. So that's going to be the first one, how to bully proof your team, a coach's guide, and we'll have a workshop built off that and a online program. We've got a 30-day journal we just finished. We got to get it customized just yet. Several worksheets, and then a workbook that was going to go along with these. And we'll have that for sale as an online program. And then off that, we'll probably have some mastermind groups that will have kind of a higher level coaching program where I'll get a chance to interact with folks as well. So that's the goal, to kind of multiply myself by getting these how-to guides and books out, and then people can buy them on their own right from the website, and they can work on them at their own pace, or if they want to be part of a group setting. So there's a lot of ins and outs that we got to put the pieces together yet, but that is the ultimate goal, to reach that empowering 10 million people to believe in themselves.
Wonderful. And the Meticulous Moments audience, we are committed to doing that. And I'm going to ask the audience, when you receive this link, when you watch this recording, this interview, share it with your friends and ask your friends to share it with their friends, because that's how we impact society. This, what we are doing here, is community upliftment through leadership development. So I love it. I enjoyed it so much. And I want to ask you, do you have any words of wisdom for the audience that you want to end off with?
There was a lot, I guess, a lot in this, because we spoke for a long time, and I'm so very grateful for letting me chew on your ear for a while. I
love it.
Listen to things more than once. And if you found value in this, as Juanita said, please share it with others. That's how we continue to make the message and grow the message. Kind of my overall mission, I mentioned earlier, is to make society a happier, healthier, and safer place to live, which is going to benefit all of us, because people that are happy and healthy, mentally, spiritually, and physically, are not bullying others, are not taking their own life, are not going around shooting up schools, are not committing violent crimes against others. So that is going to make society a safer place to live for all of us.
Yeah.
It just, that's how those three tie in together. So words of wisdom, think about who you are, your God-given talent, and be who you were born to be. Oscar Wilde once said, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. And why do you want to be a cheap replica of anybody else when God made you a priceless original? Be that original. It's not going to be easy. You're going to feel like a crab in the bucket. You're going to try and climb out of that. And the friends you've had for 20, 30 years are going to pull you back down. They're going to do that. And you're going to have to break away from some certain anchors in your life. Yes. Surround yourself with the engines. You're taking the first step by listening to this podcast. I mean, that is a good step because you're planting the right seeds in your mind. Plant seeds of hope, faith, and confidence. That's how you establish that self-respect, that self-worth, that belief in yourself. That's how you become what I like to call bully-proof. And once you become bully-proof, you got that bully-proof armor on. Now you can help empower someone else to become bully-proof. And that is the pinnacle of everything I try and do, is live your best kick in life. And that means instead of life kicking your butt, you're kicking life's butt for a change. You're living the life you were born to live. Not a good life, not a great life, a kicking life.
Wow. I mean, this session, you imparted so much knowledge into our lives, our hope and our faith and our confidence, really. All of those areas are uplifted through who you are. I want to thank you for who you are, Rich. You have made such a huge impact on my life. I know you are impacting the audience. And wherever you go, you shine. And I just speak blessing over you and your family. Thank you for being so amazing and original and authentic. That is what the world needs. And we appreciate the time that you set aside to spend with the Meticulous Moments audience. Thank you very much. We're going to make all your contact details and social media handles available. And we cheer you on, my friend. We cheer you on.
God bless you. And thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. And listeners, thank you for your time. I'm hopeful you got a lot out of this, and I'm hoping it empowers you so you can empower your kids, you can empower others, and you can bring that love, that hope, that faith and confidence to help you be who you were born to be.
Amen. Amen. Oos, thank you very much, Master Rich Grogan. We appreciate you. And to the Meticulous Moments audience, my goodness, you know what to do when we make those social media handles available. Share and reshare. Follow Rich, cheer him on, and network with him. Purchase his book and give him a wonderful review. These are the type of books that we need to support. These are the type of movements that are making, wonderful positive changes in society, ongoing changes. So thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next session. Goodbye.
God bless everybody.